Of all the workplace bullying techniques I have identified, I think ridicule, mockery, or making fun is the one technique that most closely resembles childhood or schoolyard bullying. Workplace bullying is different from childhood bullying in not only manner but also intent. There are laws against childhood bullying because it's so easy to define. It's obvious. Children are sloppy and artless, and their bullying techniques are over the top and in your face. Workplace bullies may be completely lacking in any sort of spiritual awareness or knowledge, otherwise known as wisdom, and may be completely unconscious, but they are not stupid. They will never do or say anything that can get them into trouble. Worst case scenario, get them fired. Workplace bullies take childhood bullying techniques and modify them so they are more subtle, more indirect, and more passive-aggressive, so the bullies can never be called on their behavior. But ridicule is something that takes place on the schoolyard playground, and it happens in much the same way in the workplace as well. Ridicule needs to be distinguished from another workplace bullying technique, the technique of insults. Though, like all workplace bullying techniques, both are passive-aggressive, insults are different from ridicule in that they are a little more direct. Another word for insults is name-calling, and that's exactly what it is. Bullies attack the target with a derogatory label. Ridicule is not insulting, name-calling, or labeling the target. So what exactly is ridicule? It takes the forms primarily of laughter and, of course, eye-rolling. And most often, ridicule takes place behind the target's back or at the very least out of earshot of the target. Because all workplace bullies are fundamentally weak cowards at heart, they almost never act alone and demand the collusion of other bullies for support. The target serves as a clown or entertainer for comic relief, providing endless comedic material for bouts of mean-spirited and malicious gossip sessions, introducing another workplace bullying technique, the technique of gossip. Because ridicule takes place behind the target's back or out of earshot of the target doesn't know exactly what about him or her is being ridiculed, but sometimes you can hear the laughter from the other room or nearby, and sometimes information from the gossip session slips indirectly or passive-aggressively into conversations, so the target knows that he or she has been made fun of. When ridicule takes place in the physical presence of the target, it can take the form of these explosive outbursts of laughter in response to virtually anything the target says, even when you think that you suit up and show up in a spirit of authenticity, honesty, sincerity, and integrity, and are not at all adopting a humorous tone. Alternatively, workplace bullies may simply repeat what the target says verbatim, sarcastically, in an offensive, mocking tone, apparently aimed at making fun of people with disabilities. But the target does not need to speak in order to garner ridicule. Even when the target is silent, ridicule takes the form of this sort of constant tittering soundtrack of canned laughter that follows you like a shadow everywhere you go in the workplace throughout your day. As for what is being made fun of, it's not only almost everything the target says or does, but also, more often, almost every aspect of the target's physical body. Workplace bullying ridicule is extremely physical in nature, and the target's physical body is the first point of attack. Targets are ridiculed for almost everything they wear, eat, or drink. I have been ridiculed repeatedly for drinking coffee and very often for the bottle of water that I am holding in my hands. If targets voluntarily and audibly disclose information about their physical bodies, especially any physical vulnerabilities, that information is a very juicy tidbit ripe for ridicule, upon which workplace bullies will pounce and have a field day. Again, often in these explosive eruptions of emotion. I have been made fun of for admitting that I struggled in the past with eating disorders, for exercising, and once even for saying simply that I was hungry. And just when you thought workplace bullying could not possibly get any more infantile, juvenile, immature, and, no pun intended, sick, workplace bullies make fun of people for being sick. Targets are ridiculed for sneezing, coughing, blowing their noses, or just clearing their throats, or simply sniffing. The common cold is contagious and can spread throughout communities, so it's rare that the target is the only person in the workplace who is sick. There may be 50 other people who are also sick, and the bullies themselves may be sick or may have been sick, but the target is the only one who gets all the ridicule. If you are a non-bully and a normal, decent human being when another person is sick, you sympathize and even empathize. You offer condolences, help, and support, and wish them get well soon. But workplace bullies, because again they are fundamentally weak cowards at heart who almost never act alone and demand the collusion of other bullies, will go so far as to orchestrate an entire campaign together with other bullies to publicly shame the target for being sick as though it is a personal shortcoming or failure. Workplace bullies may stand within eyesight of the target and slowly wipe hand sanitizer all over their hands. They may wave bottles of wipes and hand sanitizer and boxes of tissues at the target. And they may dramatically and violently reach for hand sanitizer and wipes and tissues when the target is in close physical proximity, as if to intimate that the target is a dirty pariah, to be reviled and ostracized. Why is ridicule so physical in nature? Why are workplace bullies so obsessed with the target's physical body? Workplace bullies display such an emotional response to the target's physical body. It is as though they are completely overcome and overwhelmed by it. They just can't stand the target's physical presence and can't handle it. In the warped, sick, twisted, dark, and ugly minds of workplace bullies, the physical body is a weakness and a vulnerability to be taken advantage of and exploited for attack. I wonder where they learned that. As with almost all workplace bullying behaviors, and especially their complete lack of boundaries, workplace bullies only expose their own trauma and their own toxic, dysfunctional, and maladaptive childhoods, upbringings, and families of origin. These are people who may have experienced physical violence and other violations of their physical bodies when they were children. At the very least, they too were ridiculed for their physical bodies and now are doing the same thing to you. By passive-aggressively attacking the physical body with ridicule, workplace bullies may be expressing their unconscious or even conscious desire to get physically violent and even homicidal with the target. Your physical body is the most human thing about you. Ridicule, like all workplace bullying at its core, is an attack on the target's humanity and an attempt to dehumanize the target. If people are going to go so far as to ridicule you for some of the most basic bodily functions, such as drinking water or simply sniffing, which is a form of breathing, the message is loud and clear. You don't have a right to be a human being because you don't have the right to exist at all. Ridicule is part of the elimination phase of workplace bullying. With ridicule, workplace bullies are passive-aggressively, indirectly attacking the target's physical body because they want to physically eliminate the target from the workplace. Workplace bullies don't consider the target a human being because they don't feel human themselves. Though some people disagree with me, I argue that workplace bullying is a form of narcissistic abuse because the parallels are uncanny. A narcissist is fundamentally a dead soul with no real internal life or self. Narcissism is characterized by many things, but one of those characteristics is this emptiness. Some narcissists may be very intelligent and may have achieved high levels of education and power, status, and prestige in their professions, and yet they are fundamentally empty. Nothing going on upstairs. If you've ever been romantically involved with a narcissist, you know that you get one, maybe two good dates. The narcissist whips out the same stories that he or she tells everybody else and then falls silent. They've run out of script. Workplace bullies are obsessed with physicality in general because that's their level. Again, they have no spiritual awareness or knowledge, otherwise known as wisdom, and without any spirituality, workplace bullies are like babies crawling around on an earthly, mundane 3D level where it's all about food, money, image, and sex. If you are tired of other people's obsession with your food, your hair, and what you're wearing, ask yourself, and then you tell me, what else do these people have to talk about? A final point I want to make about ridicule in the workplace is that even though everybody's laughing, it's not funny, not even to the bullies themselves. All workplace bullying is an attempt by narcissists to eliminate someone who has posed a threat or challenge to the narcissistic ego by not enabling that ego and not providing narcissistic supply. The narcissistic ego is whatever the narcissist believes to be true about himself and demands that you believe as well. The narcissistic ego can vary from narcissist to narcissist. Some narcissists attach their ego to their sense of humor, but when they ridicule targets in the workplace, even they are not funny. There are ways to make fun of and ridicule people that are genuinely witty, humorous, and funny, but workplace bullies seem unable to pull that off. Workplace bullies excuse their ridicule as ribbing or teasing. They're just having some fun with you. But it's not funny. It's just mean. So that's an introduction to the workplace bullying technique of ridicule. To read more in detail, I've written an essay on workplace bullying. It's on my website, and that information is in the description. The reason I do these videos is not to get subscribers, although that would be nice, but instead to create a forum where targets of workplace bullying can share their stories and experiences in a kind of support group. To know, number one, you're not crazy. Workplace bullying is real and your feelings are perfectly valid and justified. And number two, you're not alone. Unfortunately, there are countless others who have experienced the same thing. So I look forward to reading your comments, and I promise to try to respond to each one. Take care.